look. Introduced their head coach today, 17th head coach in Browns history. Freddie Kitchens met the media on the same day he filled out his staff. Coach Steve Wilks, former Cardinals head coach, will serve as the team's defensive coordinator. Former Bucs OC Todd Monken, the same role in Cleveland.
Just like during the season, sometimes there's more ups and sometimes there's more down. And since 1999, I understand and I relish the fact that there's been more downs than up, but that ends today. I promise you that. In every decision we make as an organization, and John would agree with this, I'm sure he would, that every decision will be based on one thing and one thing only, and that's winning football games. It drives me crazy that people are happy with 7, 8, and 1. It drives me literally crazy, and if I was in a different setting, my vocabulary would demonstrate that. But, you know, that's not acceptable. Nobody here wants that. We understand that was an improvement, but under no circumstances is that ever going to be acceptable. We only have one goal here, and that's to host the Lombardi Trophy. I know that I'm not a popular choice. I understand that, and I don't care. It takes some guts to do what they did, all right? And I appreciate that. I won't let them down, and all you got to do is sit back and watch.
Fair enough. We'll be watching. We'll also be watching this. Oklahoma quarterback Kyler Murray will announce his decision today regarding the upcoming NFL draft. He was a first-round pick in June's Major League Baseball draft, received more than $4.5 million from the Oakland A's, but has until midnight tonight to declare for the NFL draft. There's also reports that the Oakland A's will sweeten the pot, if you will, and that they've been given clearance by MLB to do so. So here's our overreaction regarding Kyler Murray. He will be an NFL first-round draft pick. Is this an overreaction?
Not an overreaction. Let me say this, Wendy. We are expecting Kyler Murray to announce his decision here in the next hour or so. I would think that when he does, that he's going to announce that he's entering the NFL draft. That's my sense. That's my expectation. We'll see what he ultimately decides to do following those meetings yesterday with the A's officials. And I think the reason he's doing that is because he believes he's going to be a first-round pick, and I think he will be a first-round pick. There are not a ton of quarterbacks in this draft. There are always teams interested in finding a quarterback, and you've got a guy here who broke all the high school Texas passing records of Drew Brees and Andrew Luck and Nick Foles, and has shown quick twitch, and a skill set that has been unmatched by few people.
Yeah, this is not an overreaction for me as well. And I think at the beginning of the season, even Kyler Murray didn't really know where he would fare or where he would fall as the draft approached. And we started to hear more things out of GMs anonymously saying that he would be a first-round draft pick. And then you watch some of the things that he was able to do on the big stage, whether it was Texas in the Big 12 championship or Alabama in the college football playoffs, the throws he was able to make. This guy can deal the ball down the field. He finds ways to create plays with his legs. And he's from a place in Texas where he played in front of 18,000 people in high school, right? Football is in this kid's blood. And even though he can play baseball and he was drafted in the top 10 and he knows that he can make money there and have a career, football is what he loves to do. And he's shown that he can play it. I think teams understand that. It's just where they value him in the first round is what we'll have to see in the future if he does declare and come
I think that's a good point. And listen, I think for, many positions, people will look at it like if you play left tackle, your arms need to be this long, you need to be this tall. And I think for a long time people said, well, with quarterbacks come in all shapes and sizes. You might have Carson Wentz, you might have Drew Brees, you might have, Lamar Jackson, you might have Russell Wilson. There's not a standard kind of template for guys that can play that position. And I think that it is rapidly changing.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Kyler Murray isn't anywhere near 6 feet tall, I think is less of an issue now than it would have been 5 years ago.
For sure.
And so when you watch him play and you see obviously he's a talented thrower, and so because of that, on top of just the playmaking ability, I don't think it's an overreaction.
Yeah, the evaluation is pretty easy with this kid as far as watching him actually just play, right? And he makes throws that are jaw-dropping. And he can throw this football and he can push it down the field very, very easily from the pocket, from outside the pocket, rolling left, rolling right, and rolling right, and hitting all three levels of the field. You're right. The valuation aspect of this is in terms of what price are you willing to pay for him is strictly going to come down to the comfort level of whatever team selects him. In the event that he doesn't pan out to what you want him to be, when you draft guys who don't have ideal measurables, that's what scares GMs. Because when they don't hit, then all of a sudden you have to answer for it with the people above you. Like, why did you take a risk on a guy like this?
Right.
Because he didn't fit all the certain criteria that's in most cases the standard prototype fits. So when you have a guy like that, that's why guys like Russell Wilson slid in the draft.
Right.
The only reason Russell Wilson slid in the draft that year is because he wasn't 6 foot tall. He wasn't 6'1". Because everything that he did in the pro-style offense at Wisconsin translated perfectly to the NFL.
But
it was
Baker didn't fall.
You're right.
Exactly.
And you're right. And you know what?
And so it's changed.
And that's a great point. You're right. And see, now it's
because
going to
of
be
Russell Wilson's success, that helps Baker Mayfield.
You're right. It's going to be when people look at his body type and actually lay their eyes on him. How does he come off to them? Does he really look that small? Does he look like people, or some people won't even care. Some people will just look at his production on the football field and go, we can build an offense that will succeed with him as the trigger man. And I'm willing to say, I would venture a guess that he will succeed. He will.
Well, he went back for one more year in college as a litmus test, so to speak. All he did was win the Heisman, so that's
pretty good.
That seemed to work out pretty well.
Yeah.
No player, by the way, has ever been drafted in the first round of both the NFL and Major League Baseball drafts, but looks like he's headed toward being the first. Still to come on NFL Live. Chiefs and Patriots had huge wins this weekend, but it all comes down to next week in Arrowhead. Who wants it more?
We two more, right? Two more.
Everyone thinks we suck and, can't win any games, so we'll see. It'll be fun.
Oikos Triple Zero is the official yogurt of
proving the doubters wrong.
The official yogurt of
Salsa.
Brought to you by Discover. We treat you like you treat you.
And then there were four. The conference championship games are set. The Patriots head to Kansas City. They'll play in their first AFC championship game since 1993. Not the Patriots, but the Chiefs, that is. Joe Montana was the starting quarterback. And in the NFC, the Rams face the Saints, who beat LA back in Week 9, ending their 8-0 start to the season. Michael Thomas had himself quite the day in that game. He caught 12 passes from Drew Brees for an impressive 211 yards, a franchise single-game record. A rough game for Rams corner Marcus Peters, who got into a battle of words with Sean Payton.
No, well, that was the plan. They were going to travel Marcus to him, and that was fine by us. We thought we really liked that matchup a lot.
Tell Sean Payton, keep talking that. We're going to see him soon. You feel me?
Fair enough.
Yeah, because I like what he was saying on the sidelines, too. So tell him to keep talking that, and I hope you see me soon. You feel me? And then we're going to have a good nice little bowl of gumbo together.
All right, then. It sounds like everybody's playing nice, keeping it between the lines. Why can't we all just get along? All right, the Rams' key to beating the Saints will be the run game. We'll keep it straight, and I'll ask you if that's an overreaction. Lewis?
It's not an overreaction. Look, the one thing you don't want to do as the Rams down there is just getting to a scoring fest in terms of just putting the ball up over and over and over again against a defense that's going to be keyed up, a crowd that's going to be keyed up. You're not going to be able to hear a thing. And you want to take the crowd out of it? How about possess the ball on like just an absolute soul-destroying drive where you just are hammering them with C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley over and over and over again and imposing your will upon them, as they have started to do now. That seems to have become a little bit more of their identity. And then off of that, then you just hit them and you just put the dagger in them with going up over the top with play-action pass. I think the run game is going to be critical. It also keeps Drew Brees off the field, and it keeps everything under their control. Because once that offense gets going, it's now back to their control in that dome, and then it's over. Then everybody's dancing. Then it's a big party, and it's just ridiculous.
There's no party in New Orleans.
You have no shot in that case.
Not an overreaction. Yeah, listen, not an overreaction for me as well. When you look at their offense is, I think we think about them as this kind of high-flying offense. But they're really not. They're a run-first offense. They are a zone run scheme, run offense first, and they're very creative with it. And so much of their big plays then come off of certain play action stuff that they do off of it, where quite honestly they put guys in interesting positions where they'll have a tight end blocking a guy that he's overmatched with. But it's only successful if you're able to run the football. We saw when they weren't able to run the ball that Jared Goff struggled a little bit. And I think in that stadium, with all of that noise and all of that commotion, with all the communicating that they do at the line of scrimmage, I think you have to be able to run it.
Listen, I agree with you guys totally on that. I believe that running the ball will be the start of things, but I believe it's an overreaction in this sense. when I look at that game, even though they ran the ball well with C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley, when I watched this defense, this wasn't a Los Angeles Rams defense that I had grown to know throughout the year. They were playing up front, and Ndamukong Suh stepped up and became that other piece to Aaron Donald on that defensive line that they expected him to be all year. We watched on the back end them be able to make some plays now with Talib back there and Marcus Peters not having to follow the number one guy. That was the main matchup they lost. They were able to run the ball early with Kamara and Ingram offensively for the New Orleans Saints, and then they went over the top with Marcus Peters on Michael Thomas. That matchup won't be the same. If this D-line can come and play the way that they played against the Dallas Cowboys, holding Ezekiel Elliott to under 4 yards a rush, 3.5, I think it was, 3.3, something around there, I think that'll be big in going forward in this game because I expect them to be able to score, but what they couldn't do the last time against the Saints was stop them.
Now, I was going to say exactly. The Rams do have to run the football, but they have to slow down Kamara. They have to slow down Ingram, slow down Brees. There are a lot of elements to this game that they're going to have to do. This is one of the central ones, the run game for the Rams. But Jared Goff's going to be able to move the ball through the air. They may be behind in New Orleans. He may have to throw the ball successfully. There's a lot of things they have to do.
But there's only so many ways you can go about getting all. You can't get all that stuff done at the same time. So really, the thing that they can control the most, that they're most successful and that they're best at, is running the football. Right. So that just keeps the ball in their hand. That keeps the crowd sitting there going, okay, come on, we want to get Drew on the field. Right. We want to get him on the field. And they're going, wait a minute. All of a sudden, you have like a 10-play drive, eat up 8 minutes. The crowd's going, oh,
well, the big thing is, too, though,
you know what I mean?
We saw Sean McVay learn, without Todd Gurley, actually, how important the running game was.
Yeah.
It was C.J. Anderson against the Arizona Cardinals, and they were kind of going through that lull. Jared Goff wasn't playing his top-notch ball, and he ran the ball. C.J. Anderson went for over 100 yards, and you saw it kind of click for him. This is what we have to do.
I don't expect them to be able to just gash the Saints front seven. I don't.
It's about sticking with it at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, McVay likes the run game a lot.
And a lot. And look, no matter what happens, gumbo for all. We're going to serve
nice
it up.
Little bowl.
Nice little bowl.
And those bowls are never little.
No.
We don't do little bowls.
You feel me?
You feel me?
When we return, you saw the best. Now you'll hear it. It's the sounds of